Before we begin, ladies and gentlemen, I just want to say our condolences to everyone who was involved with the two shootings that happened recently. We at Control Chaos are very we send our regards to all the family members or anyone affected by that, and it's unfortunate that stuff like this has to happen. And this video is in regards to that and this new stuff that Trump and a lot of political politicians are trying to spew now with this whole video games cause violence bullshit. And before we start to get into more control chaos fashion, we just wanted to send our condolences to all of those affected by the mass shooting. So,
definitely.
with that being said, let's get into
Let's
this right
debunk this shit, shall we?
Debunk.
David, you start.
Okay, so I guess I deserve to start this since I'm the one that came up with this topic. Like every generation, it seems that we have this debate about what makes violent people. In the '80s, it was music
It's that
and
goddamn
movies.
death metal, David.
Oh yeah, just generic death metal growls because I can't fucking do it anymore. Anyway, like, it was that, and then we continue with rap committing, like, all this fucking, these sins on our kids, like, oh god, they're saying the N-word, and they're saying fuck, and shit, and ass, and all this profanity, and oh my god, it's corrupting their poor little minds. No, we can't fucking continue with this path. We need to censor it, and then we got the parental advisory label on shit. And then you can still go.
I'm sorry, can we just laugh about the fact that, like, all that outrage, what did it amount to? We got a little sticker on the CD.
Right? So, here's how 90s/2000s I was. My first violent video game...
Did you wear your cap backwards?
Oh, yeah, I did.
Alright, that's pretty 90s/2000s.
But, no, my first violent video game was Mortal Kombat 3 on the Super Nintendo. And
wait, now was it the Sega or the Nintendo that had the cheat code to, like, let you get all the
Sega
violence?
was. The original Mortal Kombat 3 Ultimate, it was pretty fucked up for, a Nintendo game. But and my first parental advisory CD was Amon, the fuck you ho, I don't want you back song. Yeah, that's how fucking cliche I was back then. And I got that after a breakup when I was in, like, middle school.
Damn. Good little glimpse into David's childhood there. No, so I'll jump into this and just say, like, it's tale as old as time, not Beauty and the Beast, but rather politicians wanting to blame anything but... Now, I know David disagrees with me on this, but I'll just say the only reason I'm going to bring up guns here is because of the NRA. We can agree on the NRA fuckery, right, David?
The NRA fuckery, like...
All I'm saying, let me set the stage, and then I'll have your thoughts on it. So, the thing is that even if you don't want to mention the gun situation, which we might get into eventually because David and I have a difference in opinion politically here, but I'll start with just the simple fact that politicians are paid off by the NRA because the NRA doesn't want gun laws. Like, that is just a fact. And it's typically because they're selling so much guns, they're making a lot of money, so it's a lobbying thing, right? Now, so this is why you're going to have them blaming whoever is lobbying them the least. So basically, the way that I look at this is when politicians go out and blame violent video games, they're basically saying to the violent video game, or just the video game industry in general, like, well, you're not paying us enough. Where's that bribe money? You don't have enough lobbyists. That's basically what we have in our political system today is, whoever is paying them off won't get blamed, right? So, for example, you might have, like, corporate farm number 37 over there that's using, like, poisonous pesticides, and it comes out that they're like, oh shit, that causes cancer. They pay them off enough. Don't look at that. Look at this over here. That's just kind of politics in general. So you're gonna have a mixture of the politicians blaming games because they're not being bribed by gaming industry, and then a mixture of your classic dumb parents that want to just blame anything that they don't like themselves, because anything that their generation didn't have, therefore is new, therefore it frightens them, therefore it's an easy scapegoat.
Mm-hmm. Oh, yeah. It's crazy, too, because it's like everything everything goes back to this whole ideology that I've been saying. It's like humans never want to take
responsibility.
Take responsibility. We are creatures who will always find excuses for every little thing that happens in our lives. And I'm gonna be aggressive here, and I'm gonna point out religion. Religion is the biggest thing in this, right? Humans, whenever something goes wrong, what do humans do? They pray. They, not knowing if God is real or not.
Thoughts and prayers, brother.
My thoughts and prayers are with the people in El Paso.
Humans always try to find something that will save them or take away something that will blame them. So religion is a prime example of this. Even if you're not religious at all, if your bank account gets corrupted, you got robbed, yada yada, what do? You pray. Even if you don't really believe in God or
it's a human
Buddhist
nature thing, is what you're saying, basically. Yeah.
It's human nature to find some sort of scapegoat, and it's the same thing here. Something bad happens, they're like, oh shit, let's not figure out how he got the gun in the first place, or why he wasn't, mentally sane enough to realize he shouldn't be shooting up at school, yada yada yada. It's like, oh no, our society is built on violence. No, we too much violent games, shows, yada yada yada. And then what I'm liking about on Twitter is all these people bring in other countries that sell just as much.
Yeah, and we have that graph up here on the screen right now.
You put it up?
I did. Oh yeah, it's right there.
Thank you, Reggie, for tweeting that shit out. By the way,
many other countries sell as much as games as we do. Yet there's no mass shootings there.
Wait, Thurman. We cannot forget the fact that politicians were saying there was no video games in Japan.
Oh God, were they?
Yeah,
it must have been Republicans. It had to have been Republicans.
Oh,
that's just
nobody tell them about Sony or Nintendo over there. They might lose their fragile little fucking mind.
I just want to point out, by the way, because I make a point to make it no secret my religious values or political values on here. Just so you know, if there was any question on who to vote for, Representative Ro Khanna, who is Bernie Sanders' co-chair, as in like one of the top officials in his campaign, he tweeted out the same like graph, like "this is bullshit, video games don't cause violence." I was like, yes.
And there were people calling him out like that doesn't support both sides of the argument, and it's a biased graph and all that shit.
Yeah. That's so bullshit. Like, what do you really think? Oh God, because like, let's talk about what is the end goal of that statement. If your statement is it's video games, your end goal is what? Inevitably, what? Censorship. So you are for censorship. Period.
So here's the one thing I want to point out.
What happened to America? No censorship, freedom of speech.
Okay, Red, you know I'm a big South Park fan, right?
Yeah.
So my favorite thing was the South Park Bigger, Longer, and Uncut movie, because it was a whole fucking movie satirizing censorship.
Oh yeah.
Like that was the entire point.
I need to watch that.
The Mothers Against Canada was kind of like the Christian Mothers Association that was kind of blaming South Park for all the fart jokes and the profanity and the filth that came out of shows like South Park.
Filth!
The fact that they censored the sense. Okay, Ruby Chibi. The fucking like the.
All right, keep going.
The censored version, 1 minute long thing was them bitching about how hard it was for them to get an R rating for the movie. Like the whole fucking movie was just a big shit post, and I fucking respect Matt, Parker, and Trey so goddamn much for making this goddamn movie. Oh my god,
yeah,
it is one of my.
Let's talk about just in general, like what is typically the best place to go to in any society for truth telling. It's the edgy ones, the outsiders, the comedians, like the songs, the music, the games. Like, it's these places where they don't care about censorship, and because there's always going to be a chunk of people You can call them lemmings or fucking cowardice people, whatever you want to call them. But there's going to be these middle of the road. What's up?
1 second. I'm putting something into a chat.
Okay. There's going to be these middle of the road people that will take basically the easiest path forward. Okay. So like you're talking, your CNNs, your MSNBCs, your like PBS. Oh my God. Like, we're going to just not offend anyone. Let's be really fucking middle of the road here. Whereas like, let's be honest, everything that tells the truth, that actually makes a poignant point, that gets to you on an emotional level and really just like becomes legendary. Like what are we going to be talking about 50 years down the road? It's going to be the things that didn't give a fuck about censorship, the things that trailblazed, they blazed a path. What do we talk about now? What's one of the most legendary video games of all time? Mortal Kombat. Why? Because it didn't give a fuck. No one talks about fucking
wait. Let's not forget like GTA and its entire fight against that asshole in Congress for years and years and years because of the hot coffee scene.
Yeah, they should know by now they're not going to win. Like, this is something that will not win because why? America is run by a free market, and if people want to buy it, they'll never fucking defeat it. If there is a market for it, it will be defeated. Check the prohibition, bro. They tried to make alcohol illegal. Big mistake.
That was the dumbest shit America could have ever done. That was fucking stupid.
If they did some shit making violent video games harder to get, there'd be like a black market for them. Like you'd be like
there already kind of is. There's this gray market, and Inside Gaming's talked about this a lot. It's not just because of like violent video games though. It's like key reselling, and it's called G2A.
Oh my God.
Like, I think it's so funny. I think the government forgets. This is the main reason why we study history in school. The main reason why we study history is so we don't repeat mistakes.
From it.
Literally, that's the whole point of learning history, is that we don't repeat our mistakes. And just like these idiots in Congress and these stupid politicians apparently weren't paying attention in history class when they were kids. Because
you want to know a genuine... Go ahead and finish.
Because literally, prohibition does not work.
Yeah,
it does not work.
Genuine political take from someone who wants to run for something one day. Here's the genuine problem. We don't have term limits in Congress. And you want to know what that causes? That causes the generation... Here's what it is. The up-and-coming generation, our generation, the younger generation, is governed and ruled over by 100% the older generation. So there's this constant divide of our rulers are fucking 80 years old and they're like, these goddamn video games and this is the internet, so how's this work? And then they have to call Mark Zuckerberg to fucking, and that I stole that nickname from David, by the way, full props. They have to call Mark Zuckerberg over to fucking Congress and have him explain how Twitter works for like 6 hours because they're a bunch of old, angry, get off my lawn.
They not only had Zuckerberg from Facebook, they had the Twitter CEO, they had
Google. Like, when I Google Donald Trump, the first thing is a bad news article. Explain that.
They had CEOs from Google. They had CEOs from fucking Instagram and WhatsApp. They had all the social media platforms there.
Point being is this. We are literally a whole generation of new, bright-eyed, different ideas. Like, we have all these different, like, ideas, and the internet is revolutionizing the world, and video games is revolutionizing art as just a media or medium, and all of us, but like every single rule maker in this country is what? Not all of them, of course. But like we're trying to replace them with like Alexander
AOC,
exactly. But it's for the most part, until we started fighting to change it, very recently, we're ruled by a bunch of angry fucking, I don't know, what is it, baby boomers, or like even the older generation, like. So that's the issue, man.
Baby boomers.
That's the constant divide we have, because inevitably you're going to have a younger generation that is blazing forward in their own counterculture way, because counterculture will always exist. It's people that want to go against the grain. And then you're going to have, but here, inevitably, as you get older, you unfortunately become a bit more constrained. I'm going to do everything I can to make sure I don't succumb to that. But it's just inevitable, right? Like, even I look back, and I'm looking down at like the younger generations and cringing at some of the shit they do, right? So, and then they're gonna look at us as the dumb old people that don't get it. It's just how it works, right? So you have to have a good mix in governing bodies of like the different generations so that every voice is heard. But right now, the main issue and the reason that video games are being blamed is a mixture of bribery from the NRA and the disconnect of different age groups.
Did you see what I sent in Brozone?
No, because I'm paying attention to filming the video. I'm kidding.
Okay.
I'll find it. Let me see.
Yeah. So
that one was actually a joke. Oh,
it's
my God.
It's inevitability that we are in a stage to where, because let's be honest with you, it's the whole argument is it causes violence, but what proof? See, it would make sense if you have a mental illness. If you have a mental illness, it makes sense that whatever you watch, would succumb to your mental state because, some mental illness caused that because you're very influential.
Thurman,
but especially
Thurman.
Yeah.
Let me chime in there on the mental illness behalf. I'm bipolar and I don't go in and shoot up a fucking Walmart.
Right, but there's
okay?
different. Hold on. There's different types of mental illness. When people say that, I think people immediately take it as, are you saying all mental ill people are dangerous? That's not what he means, and that's not what I mean.
Oh,
either.
I know that's not what he means, and all. I know that's not the whole argument. There are differences in the spectrum of autism and all these different mental illnesses. I get it. I get that whole argument. There definitely needs to be better mental health care.
I have OCD. I wouldn't want people thinking I'm gonna fucking shoot up a place because of that. That's not
Exactly.
what people mean at all. In fact, I would argue to say I think most people have a form of mental illness because think about it.
Oh yeah.
Everything in life is a spectrum, okay? And all our brains are is a bunch of fucking chemicals, and all it takes is for those chemicals to be slightly misbalanced, and boom, that's technically a mental illness or a disorder. So I think the way I would word it is there are certain balances of those chemicals in the brains or quote unquote disorders that are more prone to violence, and we have to help those people and get those people the care and the medication if that becomes necessary that they need to, we need to make it, the way I've always worded it is psychiatric care, therapeutic care, and mental medication should be as easy to, you should be able to just walk into a therapist's office and make an appointment the day of, because that would, not only would that lower suicides, that would lower violent outbursts, because people have a moment, I've had them recently, where you just have a fucking breakdown and you think the world's ending. And luckily, I'm terrified of guns, so I could never fucking do something like this. But people that aren't as terrified of guns, people that are more prone to violent outbursts, they might have that breakdown and go to that. And that's what we need to, we need to have things in place that help these people before it gets to that point.
I think I'm the only gun owner in this call, ain't I?
Yeah. And I mean, he lived with me for half a year and he never shot me, and that's pretty impressive.
We had our disagreements, Brad, but never once did the thought come across me to end your life.
Which is why I trust him with a gun. Because that's impressive.
The day I walked out of your apartment, I was probably the angriest in my life, because I was not only angry at you, I was angry at myself, I was angry at my job, I was angry at fucking a lot of people. I knew deep down that at that point I wasn't making enough to help with rent as your roommate, and I knew you could find better at that point, but you still unfortunately haven't got a better roommate than me.
I have a plan in motion, it's just taking a while.
Yeah, but
any fans want to be my roommate, hit me up.
That's no, you do not want to put that shit out there.
Don't worry, no fucking involved. I am not Tobuscus.
Not even Jesus fucking Christ.
This is common knowledge. He fucked fans.
I realize Tobuscus fucked fans. That is common fucking knowledge. But my God, you might end up with a Megan Gavin scenario there.
Oh no!
And they're not. Their fan literally shot themselves in the fucking driveway.
But that's not a fan, bro.
That's
he
a
didn't
stan,
like them.
okay? That was a stan.
No, not a fan, a stan.
But you get what I mean. You don't want to put that shit out there. But no, that was, like I said, that was the angriest that I was, and it that thought never even crossed my mind. I don't know what it is that sets people off. I'm not a fucking therapist,
There's something in certain people's brains that just I think they don't have that hold on now, you know what I mean? There's, because if I was. Here's the thing. Here's an example, right? When I'm holding a gun, and I've done it very rarely, but when I do, even a BB gun, I'm fucking terrified. I'm get it away from me. I don't want it, right? And I think that even
I mean,
when,
you held mine in the last stream.
Hold on. hold on, just because I got to finish my thought, otherwise I'll lose it. So like even you, right? Like I assume responsible gun owners, when you're holding a gun, you should still kind of like have like know what you're holding, right? Like be aware of the death that it can cause and hold it with responsibility and like. Mm-hmm. It's kind of like, you remember in Bleach, Shuhei, Shuhei, he had, like, his double sight Zanpakuto, and his speech was like, you should be afraid of your own weapon, because those who are afraid of their own weapon know the death it can cause and can wield it responsibly. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean? I think that is what a responsible gun owner should do. If you're going to be a gun owner, you have to know what thing is capable of, and you need to feel that weight every time you hold it. Because with me...
That's like the first thing they teach you. Like, when you go through your training, your fucking CCW, all that shit, that's the first fucking thing they teach you, is like, you have to fucking realize that this can potentially end somebody's life. Like, you're not really supposed to aim to kill either. You're supposed to fucking aim to wound.
Yeah.
Disable.
Someone comes at me, pop him with both military. Knees.
Like, that's
some of them. It's crazy because a lot of these people are so desensitized to it. Like, and going back to my whole thing, it's just like I don't see how when it comes to kids, right? When it comes to kids and the whole video games cause violence shit, you technically would still have an argument, because if kids are very influential and kids will go up. Because I remember multiple times I would try to do a Kamehameha every time I'd fucking reenact.
I Naruto run through the hallways of high school.
I can assure you, I can't think of the fucking word, brain. Well, I mimicked a Kamehameha and I mimicked the Rasengan and all that shit. I was never like, oh man, I better go steal my parents' gun because that character shot a gun. I was like, I knew the fear. I was like, I ain't getting near that shit.
See, that's what I'm saying, right? Kids, but that's the thing. That's what kids do. Kids always try and reenact what they think is cool, regardless of if you like anime or play video games or not. Regardless if you like reading a fucking book like Percy Jackson. I guarantee you some of these bookworms, male or female, probably was like, oh shit, I want to date, Percy Jackson or Hermes, Hades, yada yada. So what they're trying to argue for how video games cause violence is just a kid thing. Now, you know how to prevent or deteriorate that? Good parenting. But one thing my mom and dad always did, they knew I liked video games. They knew I liked fighting games. They knew I liked this, like that. Every time I got a new video game that was rated T for teen, whatever, my mom and my dad would say, look, I know you really like this game, but you know it's not real, right? You know you cannot go outside and fucking punch someone and they're going to fucking fly into a mountain. You can't destroy a planet. They would talk to me because they knew I was an influential kid who liked geeky shit, who's in a geeky culture, and they talked to me and my siblings about shit. My brother wanted to be a cop as soon as he came out of the womb. My brother, this is one thing, the story that my mom always told me that stuck with me. My oldest brother always had a dream that he wanted to fly. He would always talk about wanting to fly. And it got to the point to where my mom and dad had to talk to him about saying, like, an actual talk like a good parent do, saying, yeah, you can't fly, humans can't fly, yada, because if I guarantee you, if they didn't give him that talk, he probably would have, thought he could fly and probably jump off a fucking bridge or some shit like that because he saw something on a TV show. So all this shit these politicians are claiming, they think these kids are fucking stupid or so dumb and influential that anything they see on TV they'll try and reenact. Yes, some kids are like that, and that's fine. They're kids. Kids like to imagine. That's not a bad thing. But these parents need to stop blaming these games and start taking responsibilities for their fucking actions and realize that you have to parent your child. You are the parent. You gave birth to this child. You have to monitor what they're reading, playing, watching, who they're around, yada, yada, yada. Regardless, I used to hate the fact that my mom made me not be able to watch certain cartoons as a kid. But you know what? That's fine. Because as a kid, you're not supposed to. You're not supposed to get it. When you're older, you'll get it. I was told not to watch Ed and Eddie, Adventures of Billy and Mandy, yada, 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 just because they did shit in those cartoons that my mom didn't want me to be influenced by. Now, I binge that shit. I binge Ed and Eddie versus Billy and Mandy, all that shit. Family Guy, South Park, whatever. I like that shit because that shit's fucking funny and I get it. But I guarantee you, kid me probably wouldn't know what the fuck was going on. So at the end of the day, these parents need to stop blaming the media, the entertainment that gets out. It's like, no, don't blame Nintendo, Sony, Justin Roiland, Dan Harmon for them influencing your fucking kid. No, blame yourself because you're such a shitty parent and you don't know how to teach your kids the difference between reality and fiction. That's not how it works.
Thank you. Like, there needs to be parenting. My mom, when I got fucking Grand Theft Auto San Andreas and she heard about the fucking, like, the hot coffee shit, she snapped my fucking disc.
I just want to say, first of all, one of the best fucking rants from Thurman I've ever seen. Seriously, bravo. Second of all, more impressively, during that rant, I was running around my apartment and I caught 6 ants and flushed them down my toilet and filmed it so I can put that on the video. I don't know what's happening or where they're coming from, but they're fucking everywhere. And I'm gonna have to, like I'm seeing, there's one
get
claw
an ant
on
trap.
my fucking wall right now. Ah! I'm gonna have to go and get ant traps directly after this video.
Okay, so
No rush. I'll live in this ant hell for a while. Continue.
So, like I was saying, my mom would snap disc after disc of Grand Theft Auto San Andreas when she kept hearing about the hot coffee and how it was influencing kids to fucking, find prostitutes and all this bad shit. I just go and have my mom's fucking friends and my friends' parents and all this. I would find a way to get a game, okay? That's the same thing with anything nowadays. Like, kids would find a way. They would find a way to get the latest Call of Duty or Halo or anything that's M-rated. The difference is the parents need to have an active role in their kids' fucking life and just be like, hey, dumbass, this isn't something you need to reenact. Like, realize that this is bad. You cannot go around and fucking nuke entire buildings. You cannot go around and shoot up, random civilians. Case in point, like, there is no fucking need to censor art. There's no need to censor fucking video games. There's no need to censor music or television or fucking movies. Like, we have a rating system for a fucking reason.
I'm going to make a very, very important statement. Censorship is always evil. Always. Maybe teensy tiny instances where it's not. Just leaving that open just in case someone's like, but what about if you're censoring this? Whatever.
Okay, perfect fucking example of this is Alex Jones and the Pizzagate conspiracy. That caused actual fucking harm.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Take
so
that
like
video
he
down.
Deserved it after actual harm was done. Sure, take him off. But here's the only thing that this is hold on. This is the conundrum. This is the genuine conundrum we always face. And just to clarify, in case anyone's here watching this right now, I am like a Bernie Sanders lefty dude. I have no sympathy for Alex Jones whatsoever. In fact, I was at a protest in Detroit and had an Alex Jones InfoWars reporter badger me, and I put her in her place, let me just tell you. But, fucking, when it comes to that, like, this Alex Jones situation, censorship always starts with people that everyone agrees on hating, right? So, like, the establishment, your Twitters, your Facebooks, your Instagrams, they're gonna be like, oh, okay, we're against censorship, but this guy here, he's really bad, so he's worth censoring, right? And then the masses are like, of course, censor him. But then it gets more and more. Okay, well, how about this guy? Well, how about this guy? Well, how about this guy? Until they're censoring whatever they want. And you have to understand the dangers of having a handful of billionaire oligarchs control what we can and can't see. You do realize that Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, they are the new public square. And if the problem with censorship is literally billionaire, like these CEOs are deciding what can be seen and what can't be seen. That's the danger to me, and that's why censorship, to me, as an idea, is almost always corrupt, because it will inevitably spread into this thing where they censor anyone that has ideas outside of the norm. So, people, let's talk. Let's talk back. Let's say Twitter existed in the days of slavery. Okay, like 1920s Twitter. All right, let's imagine. Okay, and seriously though, thought experiment. Think about it for a second. So 1920s Twitter. Someone goes on Twitter and says, you know what? I think slavery's bullshit, and the slaves should be free, and black people should be treated the same way. How much you want to bet they would have been banned off Twitter?
Yeah.
Because why? That is an idea outside of the political norm of the time. So the reason that censorship is terrifying is because almost anyone that is described as a radical today, so Bernie, he's a radical because he wants Medicare for all and free college or whatever. If he wins, fast forward 20 years, that's going to be the norm, and then the history books are going to be written about how, like, yeah, back in the day he was seen as a radical, but it was actually just a transformation of the country and the ideals. That is the problem with censorship, because censorship will inevitably just basically like funnel all these ideas down this like middle zone of acceptable ideas, and then on the sides and the corners will be the radicals. And radicals are important as long as they're not fucking killing people, of course. That's always the distinction you have to make.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So
it's the whole thing. Like, there's no harm in fighting for what you believe in, but you also have to pick and choose your battles wisely when it comes to shit like that. Because at the end of the day, if your ideals cause harm, maybe it's not such a good idea after all. Because what truly you're at this point, you're nothing more than just something you're gonna be preaching against. Because it's just like, and it's crazy to me how all these people will try to defend something so hard just to keep one thing that they're so used to. Humans hate change. It's funny. It's so ironic that humans hate change, because all we've been doing is change. Like, we have a whole
Thurman,
point.
you mind if I weigh in on that? All we've been doing is change. So, Red, you and I are super, more left than a lot of people. Like, we really dive into arguing on social media than anything else. So, like, I've been arguing with this one friend on Facebook like all day. Like, it's been nonstop. I'm not going to name his name.
Does it rhyme with Pustin?
No. Like,
so not Justin. All right, cool.
No, it's not Justin. Justin and I have this mutual agreement. Like, we are, somewhere center.
Justin's like, you're a libtard, and then you're like, and you're a cuck.
Sorry, Justin, if you're viewing this video, but that was Red saying that, not me.
I like you, Justin, but I mean, little bit of a cuck.
But anyway,
I don't use that word ever, by the way. I'm just using it because that's what his people use.
No, but like, realistically, like, this guy and I, we exist in this band group on Facebook, and he was arguing about, like, Facebook censoring, his reach for his group, and he blames it on, like, his political views and all this shit. Like, and we've also been arguing about, like, he's bitching and moaning about, like, a bunch of people added him and they don't respond. Like, where did they find him? All this other shit. I'm like, you sound like the most desperate motherfucker on the planet for validation right now.
Well, yeah, because here's the thing, right? Like, Facebook and Twitter, like, that's like one of the biggest myths of all time. They are not censoring specifically conservatives. Conservatives like to cry and moan and whine like they're getting censored. Not the case at all. Like, what they are censoring is anything that is outside of the mainstream. So they will censor far left and far right, 100%.
Exactly. Yeah. Like even in Planet Unity, Thurman, you and I can attest to this. Like, the amount of notifications we get and the amount of, like, comments and posts we get nowadays, since, like, I think since the whole incident with the coup d'etat, as it was called back in the day, like,
long time ago now,
like, it's dwindled. Facebook groups in general, like, their reach has dwindled. There's no real
in general.
Oh yeah, definitely. Like, there's no censorship there. It's the platform itself being run by this algorithm to where it's basically fucking everybody's reach, like influencers, groups, pages, all this shit. It's not just, politically influenced. It's the fact that they have this algorithm running it, kind of like YouTube in a sense. Like,
and that's the sad part, right? Because, and if you're curious, well, they got off topic. Where the fuck does this play in? It plays in because censorship, and the idea, the response to this kind of stuff is always censorship, and it never works. Like, it's, so I'm just trying to, like, for example, like the advertisers on YouTube, they don't want certain things talked about, and the sad part is it's not even because they think it's going to help like curb violence. It's because they want to make money, and they're worried that if a couple fucking people on Twitter are like, oh my god, Coca-Cola was advertising on Alex Jones, I'll never drink Coca-Cola again. Oh my god. And then they go and drink a fucking Sprite.
The fake woman voice there, like,
thank you.
But ever, regardless, anyways.
Point being, though, is that is kind of a theme, right? So, like, not only is it not about death, like, the companies don't give a fuck. They care about their bottom dollar, their bottom line. And then, same thing with Congress. Most of them don't give a fuck. They care about their bottom dollar, the bottom line. So you'll find that most of these problems, almost always, are caused by greed. So, like, let's talk about it. Why is there not more readily available therapy? Greed. Because the pharmaceutical industries and the healthcare industries are lobbying to keep it expensive. Why do we not have at least sensible gun reform? You don't got to ban them, or that would be ridiculous. But like just making it a little bit harder.
Maybe, like closing like the private gun sale loophole.
Yeah,
like,
or like
for example,
make it a little bit more like a driver's license test, maybe. Like just but why? Oh well, that would cut into their gun sales, of course, and we can't have that. So at the end of the day, you'll find that almost all this stuff is caused by greed, and that's what we have to fight. And
so here's a perfect example, Red. Like my pistol that I have here, like I legally bought it from my dad for the price of $1. And as soon as that license was transferred over, it's my property. It's my gun. I didn't go through any real screening for it. I didn't go through. I didn't go through anything. I just bought it, and then I went through and got my permit. Like, that's it. That's how simple it fucking is, really.
And even David, a gun guy, can admit that it should be a bit more of a process.
Yeah, there really should be, like, this private sale. Like, that needs to be fucking stopped. You can technically go out and go to your police station, fucking, like, here's the certificate of sale. I just need my license for it. I need it transferred. Blah, 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 blah.
Yeah.
Done.
Well, anyway, really good.
The whole point of this, Red, was to like tie it into how it's this art form. So look at all the good that video games are doing.
Yeah.
Like for example, like they're using games like fucking like Minecraft to help with fucking therapy. They've used
Assassin's Creed to rebuild the cathedral, right?
Yeah, they used Assassin's Creed Unity to rebuild like the Notre Dame Cathedral because Ubisoft went in and deep dived like to the fucking architecture of that building. They're using Assassin's Creed Origins and Odyssey to give like virtual tours inside of Greece and Egypt. They're using a lot of these fucking video games like Wii Fit. They've been using in like fucking Wii Sports for like physical therapy and helping in nursing homes. That's why the Wii is still being supported. The actual Wii is being supported to this fucking day. Like, Just Dance 2020 is the last Wii game being published because they use that. They use that to help people with like fucking surgery, like on their hips and shit, to help them get back up and moving and dancing and being able to feel this full range of motion again after surgery, or in like nursing homes to keep active instead of being confined to a fucking bed. They're using these games to tell a story. They're using them to tell an actual fucking like their own lore. Look at the Dragon Age games. They're a full-on fucking series of deep lore and storytelling and fucking world building. Mass Effect's the same way. Regardless of how about you feel about like Andromeda, it's still this wonderful world that's being created that could have not only has been spanning for almost a fucking decade, it's spanning this entire expanded universe throughout novels and comics and movies and all sorts of different media. Halo is the same fucking way. You look at a bookstore, you see 1,000 fucking novels and comics being told inside this mythos that was created by a fucking video game.
Yeah. So, in general, what he's saying there is it's a fucking art form, just like movies, just like comics, just like anything. And it will inevitably, it's the next thing in a line of shit being blamed. First it was music, then it was, I'm sure violent comics got blamed at some point. I don't fucking know. Like,
oh, yeah.
Yeah. And that's just
Wolverine Max. Thurman, you and I can fucking attest to Wolverine Max being censored to fucking back. Or at least the attempt thereof.
Well,
because
see,
it was so
and that comes
goddamn
down to the different
boring.
kinds of people, right? And this could even go into like a nature versus nurture conversation, because the thing is, like, there have been studies on like the brains of conservatives, right? People that are conservatives. I don't know if I told you this, David, because this is one of my favorite studies of all time. Conservatives, the part of their brain that dictates fear is more active.
Well, that kind of makes sense because of where statistically most conservatives grow up in like these rural areas. I mean, even my parents grew up in West Virginia and they were raised more conservative. You know,
But think about what that means. When you are running your life by fear, you fear the other, you fear the immigrants coming in, you fear you fear change, you fear different stuff. What is this video game thing? I didn't have that when I was a kid. It must be the work of the devil. What is D&D? Suicide cults? Oh my god! Like, did you ever hear about that? Like,
oh, okay. My mom grew up in that era.
Yeah.
So
basically, what I'm saying is
here's
there's always
the funny
going
thing,
there's
though.
always going to be a group of people that are going to be scared of the next new thing, and what they are is they are blockades to progress. They always have been, and they always will be. And
So, Red, you and I think I even talked about this on the podcast where Kate appeared, back on 23.5. Like, I think I really did talk about this. But one of my first, like, I had a picture for the longest time. I don't know if I still have it. But, like, I had this picture of my dad and I sitting in old Nintendo Power branded gaming chairs playing Super Mario Brothers on the NES. That was one of the first things that I can remember is my mom showing me this picture and, telling me about how my dad and I would, like, literally play the NES back in the day. And that was, like, my first gamer memory. Like, going back and playing through Final Fantasy 1, the old save file that he kept for me, that he and I played, like fucking the original like Mario Brothers, going back and playing that when I was like 3, because he was like holding the controller with me at like age 1. So I couldn't really remember that because my mental capacity at that time wasn't really formed, but my mom took this fucking picture of that. So I've held a fucking controller since before I could form a sentence. And not once have I been this dude that goes in and commits, mass violence. Gamers are not the issue. It's the lack of fucking compassion, the lack of parenting. It's the lack of, acknowledging the fact that this thing that you're holding can take lives within a second. The one thing that I see a lot of people like on Twitter and Facebook, we need to ban high-capacity magazines. Motherfucker, my pistol can hold a high-capacity magazine. It's the lack of the knowledge that this device that you're holding can commit 1 million fucking deaths, potentially, if you're not stopped. This device that you're holding, this object you're holding, can end a life. You need to have that fucking knowledge in the back of your head.
Now, just as purely for making it known, David and I have slight differences of agreement, or difference of opinion, on that particular issue. I think that there are certain things, because people will make the argument, oh, why make a law? People will get around it anyway. You can make that argument with anything. Why make a law about rape? People rape anyway. That's dumb. There's nothing wrong with making laws. But I also agree at the same token that you can't ever do a massive gun ban in the United States, because it's the United States. You do that, welcome to the next Civil War, baby. Like, it's happening, and this is, I'm speaking as someone who hates guns. I personally cannot stand guns. They make me terrified. But I know that there's a huge chunk of people in this country that if anyone was ever like, well, the government official coming to get your guns, welcome to a bloodbath, because it will happen. And that's,
Yep.
So anyone in the government that thinks that would work, I hope they're smart enough to know it won't. I think what we need is common sense gun reform, and the things you can do that are common sense are just certain things like
Close on
making
a
it
private
harder to
sale
get,
route.
using like, because here's the thing, the more elements of blockade, it makes it hard. So for example, why do you lock your door when you leave? You could, people can get past that. Just shoulder into that door a couple times, they'll get past that. But you lock the door because it's a deterrent. It's like, oh, okay, well, this door is gonna be hard. It's gonna make a lot of noise, and it'll take me a while to get in. I'll go to a different door, right? So if you just add a couple deterrents, that can really shave it down. Because right now you can literally just stroll in and pick pick one up. You know what I mean? Like, and that
you
was
can't
the big
really
thing.
stroll in and pick one up. They still do a basic background
Of
check in most
course,
places.
but like it doesn't mean shit because look at the Pulse Night Shooter. He was on the terrorist watch list and he still got a gun.
Now, there's plenty of argument to be had there, obviously, but definitely you're right. He did still get one. There's a black market. There's the ability to 3D print a gun. There's
what we can
plenty
admit
of
is in America's the easiest country in the world to get a gun. Period. We can agree on that.
Definitely,
There's something to be said about that.
America, land free, where you can buy a gun and shoot everything.
There's a Gorillaz lyric where it's like, I don't something, baby, it's the land of the free, where you can buy Glock in the pound for a cheap.
Yeah, definitely. Like, it's satirized to a fucking absurd level, the ability to get a gun in this country. Like, you have plenty of music lyrics, you have plenty of movies, you have plenty of fucking, even comics have touched on this at some point. But the fact is, yeah, there definitely needs to be, like, closing the private sale loop. There definitely needs to be, a little bit of reform here and there to, help with the background check. Need to dive into their mental capacity. You need to dive into a lot of shit. But you're never going to fully outright ban the fucking ability to get a gun.
That would be dumb. Like, I don't agree with that in the slightest. And what I will say, too, is this kind of leads us into one other topic I want to go into before we end this video, which is Walmart choosing to stop showing violent video game images and not doing a goddamn thing about their gun sales.
You saw the picture I sent in the bros hub, right?
Go ahead, Thurman.
Walmart's so fucking stupid. Like, oh my god. How...
Randy will live edit out that picture I sent in the fucking group chat.
I'll edit it in post. But, so, like, you know what it reminds me of? The Thurman, the Walmart thing, it reminds me of that meme where like there's a huge hole in like the boat and it's sinking and they just put like a little band-aid over a part of it, like fixed. Or that Penguins meme where it's like, well, boys, we did it. We solved gun violence.
How can they be so fucking stupid? Oh, that is so... Like, Nick, bro, that is literally... Like, you have a whole section that literally endorses violence. But instead of getting rid of that section, you get rid of another section that has literally nothing to do with that. But just to appease other people, you're gonna like, what is Walmart thinking? Like,
well, I'll tell you what they're thinking. Can't fucking get rid of all this shit that sells so well and gives us money, baby. That's what they think. They're a greedy corporation who exists to get more money.
So that would mean GameStop, Best Buy, every what other electronic store that sells video games, like Walmart. To me, it just seems like a poor opportunity to try to they're trying to seem like the heroes here. Like, literally, that's what they're doing.
They're trying to save face and think they're like, oh, look at us taking action.
Yeah, but look at us over here. We're going to appease every fucking 40-year-old mom in America. We're going to ban all these violent video games for our kids. Meanwhile, $20 guns on sale next week. Come buy your new pistol now. Like, nigga, what the fuck how does that make sense? You're going to ban entertainment, but you have a whole section for a fucking AK. Fuck you,
and there's
Walmart.
a fucking argument to be made about the fact that entertainment can stop people from losing their mind. You know what I mean? Entertainment sometimes is the one thing people have in their lives. And what I'll
definitely.
Say, like I want to.
Red, I talked to you.
What?
Like, I've talked to you about, like, how at one point in time I was, like, falling out of, like, all my hobbies, and you've talked to me about the same thing. Yeah. And then I booted up games like Kingdom Hearts and shit that I grew up with, and I fell back in love with my hobbies.
Yep.
And that helped me, get back into, this state of mind where I don't hate everything that I, loved once. And the same thing can be said about, like, opening my mind back up to, like, certain manga. Like, at one point, it's pretty well documented in, like, our streams and everything. Like, the whole fight that Thurman had with Chris over, like, Ancient Mage's Bride. And I've talked to you about, like, friends that are in love with this fucking series. I pop open a fucking manga volume after watching the anime where it cuts off. I'm like,
wow, takes you away to another world, makes you forget about your problems. Yeah.
Yeah, media in general helps with that. It's not just video games, it's anime, it's manga, it's movies, it's television, it's music. All of this shit that has tried to be censored throughout the span of our universe, really, like, it is a deterrent for us to, like, go in and fucking lose our minds, become one with this world. It doesn't mean we're going to reenact anything we see. They're like, sure, a dumb kid's going to go out there and, like, go, Kame, ah! Shit like that. Cool. Fucking reenact that kind of shit. But that doesn't mean the kid's going to go out because they play fucking Fortnite and floss on somebody they killed and go out there and shoot with a goddamn AK. No, they're not going to fucking do this shit. Like, Walmart is so fucking moronic in thinking that, removing an ad is going to stop the sale of a violent video game.
Yeah, not even the ability to buy it. An ad. Like, you know what? I wasn't going to kill a bunch of people, but then I saw this ad, and I was like, oh, fuck. Like, that's so dumb.
That ad for Halo Infinite made me want to go kill minorities.
Oh, that ad, man, made me want to go driving my mom's car.
By the way, time to fucking bring that up. Sorry, not sorry. His manifesto, what did it literally reek of? Donald Trump's rhetoric. Sorry.
That's why I said what I said, my dude.
Most of these shooters are right-wing extremists. Not to say all, but like you talk, like that one literally wanted to kill immigrants. There
was for full transparency, there was the one at like the conservative baseball game, I think it was. That was
yeah. I remember that. That was a long time ago.
Full transparency, there have been left-wingers.
Of course. But, like, just purely by numbers. Like, what you got to look at is radicalization and extremists on both ends are going to be dangerous. There's just a lot more extremist right-wingers than left-wingers. Extremist left-wingers exist. Antifa is a fucking cancer. Like, I can't... They are hot garbage. And that's coming from someone who's quite the leftist. But, like, anyone who takes their political ideology and pushes it towards harming other people, you've completely lost your way. Because what politics should be used for is to improve the lives of people, not to denigrate others. Now, I'm going to move into final statements here so we can keep this video under an hour. So I want to just end with this. You were talking earlier about how, I don't know who said it. It might have been you, but it was something about, like, despair and, like, how this country is just kind of, like, it doesn't really treat the mentally ill well and shit like that, right?
Mm-hmm.
So... this is a quote from Jim Carrey, and I love this quote to death, and I'll skip to the middle half part of it, but he basically says, I keep hearing this, Canadians are so nice, Canadians are so nice. They can be nice because they have health care, because they have a government that cares about them, that doesn't say sink or fucking swim, pal. So basically, I guarantee you this, I say this without any hesitation in my voice, and without any, like, doubt that this would happen. You have a government that, like, gives you a little bit of a safety net, an ability to breathe, a place to go if you're feeling like, oh, Jesus, right? You'd have less hatred, less mental illness, less all this stuff. Because a lot of this truly is, it comes out of, like, you are a mixture of what you're born as, but also what life kind of creates of you. You know, what your upbringing is. And when you live in a kind of a community that kind of takes care of everyone, you know, everyone watches out for each other rather than this world, let's admit, this country here, very dog eat dog, you know? That can make people feel kind of just cornered and alone. And when people don't talk to each other and when people don't communicate about what they're feeling, you're going to have people that ruminate in the corner and they could be thinking these murderous thoughts for years without anyone knowing. But if you have if you have a society that's more open to communication and like, hey buddy, what's wrong, and like getting that person to therapy and like on meds before shit gets crazy. And by the way, this also goes for like extremist right-wing policies that blame like minorities for their problems. That wouldn't be as big of an issue either if people were living good lives. If people were getting paid enough, people had jobs, if people had healthcare, they wouldn't have to blame minorities for their problems because there wouldn't be as many problems. So just in general, love creates more love, hate creates more hate, and that will always be the truth. Anyway, final statement to you, David.
So, Red, I'm going to weigh in on two things here. Like, what you just said with the Jim Carrey quote, beautiful quote. I've been working on the side on the mental health project, for my personal channel. Getting testimony from friends, and even even when you were coming to, stream last week, like I told you about this video that I had sat down and tried to film multiple times and just couldn't get the words right.
Yep.
So I was filming like my intro to that and telling my story. So here's a little bit of a backstory for me. And this will take a few minutes, but just bear with me. So, like, at the age of around 5 or 6, I was the spoiled fuckwad that got, like, everything I wanted. Because if you look at my social media, like, pretty much anybody that's my friend on Facebook saw the screenshots I took from when my dad was drunk and posting online. So, like, at, like, 5 or 6, I was diagnosed with having, like, ADHD. And one of my first things that they had given me was Ritalin. And that was because my parents couldn't find the Falcon Zord from Power Rangers. I threw a temper tantrum. And because at that time, every doctor on the fucking planet would be like, you have ADHD, here's a prescription. And they gave me Ritalin because I bounced a rollerblade off the back of my mom's head. Because I threw this temper tantrum that I didn't get my way. Because my parents weren't able to... My mom was supposed to not be able to have children. Like, that was the one thing that she was told from the time she was in her, like, 30s on down. Like, you cannot bear children. So, I was a change of life baby in my parents' life. And because I was handed everything because of that fact... I was so used to being told yes. The one time I got told no, we couldn't find this one fucking Christmas present. I threw this temper tantrum, and the therapist they sent me to was like, you have ADHD. Here is your prescription. There is this overbearing diagnosis of mental health that they're not really diving in, especially in the 90s and early 2000s, where they're not diving into the actual cause. They're not diving into what actually is wrong with you. They're just like, here's a pill, take it.
Oh, I agree with that. The kind of therapy and psychiatric care I would vouch for would be like meds as a last resort, but like first like therapy and like really like you know what I mean? Like yeah.
Yeah,
but exactly. There are genuinely some people that need meds, like because here's at the end of the day, mental illness is not. I don't know if don't quote me on this. I'm not a scientist, but like from my knowledge, it's a misbalance of chemicals in your brain. That's what I was told when I had OCD, right?
Yeah.
So some of those are so bad that they genuinely need meds in order to be fixed. What you need is a therapist that isn't just going to be lazy and be like, all right, take this pills, but like try everything, and then if it's determined you really need these, then give them.
Exactly. Like, you don't give a fucking 5 or 6 year old one of the strongest drugs on the goddamn planet.
Especially when they're still developing. And that's something I agree with 100%, because kids are still developing, and it's normal for kids to be fidgety and spoiled and like have temper tantrums. That doesn't mean that there's something wrong with them. Yeah.
Exactly. So I was basically a medical guinea pig from the time I was like 5 or 6 till I was in my early teens, and I told my doctor to suck my fucking dick.
What an edgelord.
That was my exact words. I'm like, I'm not taking another pill that's going to make me weigh 200, 300 pounds and be this unhealthy piece of shit. And I'm not going to be the one that you're going to continue to experiment on with all of this shit. Like, I'm done. Like, you cannot tell me that there's something entirely wrong with me when there's plenty of research out there that most people outgrow having ADHD. Sure, I have bipolar or, maybe a little bit manic depressive disorder, but even that can be, healthy diet, having, this chemical balance in your fucking brain elsewhere. Like, you can get a medical card. You can do so much more that's more natural than having a million fucking pills popping through you that are making you worse and more depressed or more anxious or more, like, imbalanced, because they would change the formula for me so goddamn much that there was never a chance for me to get fully balanced on these pills that they would put me on. So there's definitely that side of doctors that are just in there for the fucking check. There are definitely that side of doctors that are just in there for like, let's give this poor bastard everything on the planet and a hope to hell they don't commit some sort of, criminal offense. And then there are the doctors that are like, okay, let's try therapy. Let's try, dealing with this issue or that issue or so many other things. and then using medicine as the last resort if they can't, help them get through their issues. Those are the kind of doctors you need to support.
Mm-hmm.
Those are the kind of doctors you need to actually seek out. You don't want to go to the doctor that's going to be immediately, yeah, pills. Here's like a list of scripts that are going to fuck you up even more.
Yeah.
That's my stance as somebody that was, put through so much hell with medicine. Like, Red, full well, like, now that post-surgery and post-everything, like, I am 100% more for, like, staying in this healthy mindset than anything.
Yeah.
To the point where I took a fucking hiatus from this channel to try and get my mental state back, fully stable and not have to deal with everything that was going on in my life at that point in time. Like, I wanted to be fully mentally capable of doing this and enjoying this and loving what I'm doing right now, creating content for the viewers and everything else in life before I did anything else. I wanted to completely reset my entire well-being to the point where, like, on my wall, you saw that I had, like, a weight limit to where I stay in this healthy weight after my surgery, to where I continued down this path of, like, I am 100%, perfectly fine to continue doing what I love.
Yeah.
And
but anyway, trying to wrap it up here because we're hitting over an hour. Tie it back into the initial thing.
Yeah, so that's the kind of people that are blamed on this shit. Like, they're like, you have a mental illness.
That's a misunderstanding, at least to the point that I'm making. I hate this fucking distinction. Like, you got to understand, if you're going out murdering people, you have a mental illness. Period.
Yeah,
you have to distinguish between people that just have a mental illness and people that have a mental illness like that, which disassociate. You know what I mean? Like,
yeah,
when I say that, it's not at all me blaming. Like, oh yes, all mental ill people.
Here's what I'm getting at though. There's the stigma that we've always had. Like, everybody with this illness is evil. That's not the case. There are definitely people with mental illnesses that aren't medicated, they aren't, treated properly, that go out with this I hate everybody mentality. And then there are the people with the mental illness that are medicated, they are completely fucking stable. They are normal functioning members of society. Of
course. And like I said before, I think that everyone has a form of it. I don't think normal exists. Normal is such a weird concept because life is a spectrum. Yeah.
Life is this. I love that statement. Like, life is a spectrum. Like, everybody. I hate the fact that anxiety is used as, like, this fucking platform now. I have anxiety.
Oh yeah, as someone with OCD, anxiety. You realize how many people use the word OCD for, like, I'm just cleanly or organized. Whereas OCD, it's not really about organizing shit and, like, putting shit in a straight line.
It's
like, my type of OCD is like. Thoughts that come back over and over and over again. So usually it's like I'm worrying about shit, and like other people can kind of just like think about it and then think about something else. Or like my best example was like when I was in school and I was trying to take a test, I would always finish last. I'm talking like half hour after the whole class was done, because I would literally be trying to read a question, and then halfway into the question, my brain would be like, think about this now, think about this now, think about this now.
Exactly.
And that's what
That I don't even think is OCD. I think that's more of the ADHD in you talking. Like, I would be scatterbrained throughout, like, middle school and high school with fucking tests. But then again, I'm not a fucking licensed psychiatrist, dude.
Obsessive compulsive. If you go to the Wikipedia page of OCD, it actually describes it really well. Like, the example I saw was like, if you're gonna go on like a plane, right? Like, you won't just be able to sit on the plane. You'll be thinking like, what if it crashes? What if it crashes? What if it crashes? Yeah.
Oh yeah, definitely. Yeah, I really sympathize with that, because I'm the same fucking way. Even in the car, like, well, what if we wreck? What if we wreck? What if we wreck?
Well, it doesn't help that your dad has crashed like 13 and a half times.
What's the half? The one time you just got in the crash with my laptop in it, and he got cut off at the intersection.
This motherfucker's laptop has a huge ass dent in it from a. Anyway, I want to let Thurman make his final comments, because I think he probably has to leave soon. So go ahead, Thurman.
Final point is that video games don't cause violence. We should be better. We should learn better. We should know when and where we decide to, take things. I think a lot of people are just too, we should just be better. All I have to say is just be better. You know what I'm saying? Just stop blaming stuff when all you're doing is just mitigating the problem. You're not,
It's
you're not
all
helping
like
anything.
passing the blame, Thurman, is what you're looking for.
Scapegoating.
You're not helping anyone by trying to pass on the blame, because you can't help anyone who doesn't want to get help. And this is what they're doing. You're just keeping everyone just, so just stop with this bullshit and just realize that we as Americans have a problem.
And it is specifically this country, by the way. Look at all the statistics.
And we, instead of trying to fix our problem, we keep just trying to make excuses for it. No, you can't make excuses for problems. Just stop trying to make excuses and just, like always, find solutions to the problem that we have. And that's my last take on it.
And I'll end off the video with this. I was having a conversation with my dad yesterday, and he is one of those people. He genuinely told me, he's one of those people that genuinely believes America is the greatest country on earth, right? And I was trying to get him off of that belief, because we can all agree here that's the dumb as fuck, right? To think that.
Oh yeah, there is no greatest country in the world. We're all equally great in our own way. Like, there are countries that are completely backwards in their beliefs, but that is their fucking country. Like, Red, you and I can, weigh in on this, and Thurman, you too. Like, the argument we had on Twitter, like, the differing in cultures is what really drives people to believe their country is actually the greatest.
Well, yeah, and my point is, I do want to try to end this off, because we're at an hour, 6 minutes here, editing, and there's some things I want to edit in this, so it's going to be a process. But,
especially the one that I put in the Twitch chat.
Yeah, but basically, what I want to end off with is this. People, just our country in general, we need to look to other countries. Other countries that are succeeding at things, there's no shame in looking at them and saying, well, how are they doing it? Right? So when you see a country that has so few mass shootings, how are they doing it? When you see a country that covers healthcare for everyone, how are they doing it? When you see a country that has not only free education, but good education and better education than ours, how are they doing it? There's nothing wrong with looking at them and implementing these ideas. If countries were YouTubers, commenters would say you're copying. But we're not, are we? And I think it's just smart to fucking... Do you remember that era of YouTube where, like, PewDiePie would upload something and then Toby Games would upload something and they'd be like, copying! Good times.
Yeah, that, even Achievement Hunter dealt with that for a
But
while.
main point, that was just a little aside, because no one laughed at my joke. I was making sure that was understood there. But point being there, it's just, god damn it, man. Like, it'd be one thing if the whole world dealt with this, like, well, I guess it's inevitable, but, like, it's not. It's just our country. So let's look at what we do differently from other countries and make it better and stop the greed and stop the scapegoating. And with that, that's peace.